Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. If you got something on your mind, you can call in, you can hit a line. She the realest, ooh, she the realest. You can tap in, love, oh, we get a business to empower you so that you can do every and anything that you want to. Kicking it with Coach LA, it's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the air and each just calling. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Coach La 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 La.
How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Y'all have entered another conversation with Coach La La La, your favorite around the way therapist. You are now sitting on the virtual couch, and tonight I'm super excited. Y'all know I'll be excited every single week, but tonight I'm extra excited. Shout out to everyone who participated in the Rethinking Mental Health. Martha and her team at Simple Coaching Inc. I got a chance to moderate 2 panels this weekend. One was about redefining systems, and the other one was Man Up. And it was all about supporting Black men in particular, but men of color around managing their emotions, expressing their emotions, redefining the scripts that we've learned about masculinity and manhood. And it was a great time. I got a chance to actually just relax after the conference and spend some time. Shout out to Mission Beach House out in Revere, Massachusetts. They took really good care of me. I really enjoyed every minute of it. And then I got a chance to have some family time. Shout out to my little nephew, Caesar. He thinks he's the best Connect Four and Uno player, but Auntie had to show him a thing or two today. And then he just took over the game and just started doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I was like, what are you doing? So it was definitely a interesting evening playing against a 6-year-old. And then shout out to my sister-in-law, Leona. She helped hold it down. So that was a good time today. A lot of balance, it's all about work-life balance. So you guys know that this is November and it's all about saying no. And this season, we've been talking about the power of the pivot, rise, reclaim, and reinvent. And this is the season finale, y'all. And I am super excited about my next guest because I've been fangirling her, just crushing on her, and had the opportunity to meet her in person at Freeverse with Amanda Shea and her team. And we really got a chance to connect and bond. And some of you may already know her, some of you may not, but I'm going to play a clip that'll give you a little bit more insight on who she is. And then I'm going to read her bio and welcome her to Conversations with Coach La. So you guys are in for a serious treat tonight, because this is just a phenomenal poet, author, and y'all gonna be really impressed. So let me go ahead and play it, and then I'll tell y'all a little bit about it.
I at least thought you'd been on Broadway or a national stage. My nostrils fled. I shifted in my seat. I adjusted my glasses. I said, "What you say to me?" She said, "I'm just saying, more than 20 years should probably bring you fame." I said, "Well, the fact that I'm still in demand leaves me amazed. I'm grateful." I looked at sis again. There was no scales, no sharp talons, but it was a little smoke on her tongue. She was hateful. She said, "How old are you?" I took a long look around the room. I was hinting at sis to go on and move. I was trying not to be rude. I said, "I'm in my early 40s. She said, "True. I don't see no ring." I said, "No, baby girl, not yet." She said, "Oh, so you ain't meet nobody who wanted to take you off the market?" I said, well, of the few men that I dated, there was one I thought I would be with for life, but it didn't work out that way. She said, another independent woman who can't find her Mr. Right. I said, sis, you want to fight? But she laughed at my offense. Instead of falling back, she leaned in. She said, you sitting here like you ain't got no friends. At least tell me you got some kids. I said, I don't have no time for this. My life is beautiful the way that it is. She said, oh, you one of them. I said, one of who, friend? She said, you the type to meet a grim reality with toxic positivity. You sitting there like you never wanted to be mommy or wifey. I said, you're talking to a woman who has radical acceptance for whatever God has for me. I said, honestly, I'm at peace. And I remembered I didn't even have to be in this woman's vicinity. I started to gather my things up quickly. I said, for the record, I didn't enjoy your company. But since you forced yourself upon me, the least you can do is tell me your name. Sis gonna say same. I said, same as what, girl? Stop playing. She said, same as the woman that I'm talking to, boo. She said, sis, I'm you. I'm the dark corners of your brain. I give voice to what your subconscious be saying. She said, you met a lot of hurt people who wanted you to feel the same. You used to ignore it, but now in the quiet corners of your day, you start to regurgitate all of the negative things they used to.
So that was just a real quick snippet and clip. So let me tell you a little bit about my guest this evening. Dr. Rebecca Dupas has performed her first poem, her original poem, at the age of 18. And by her early 20s, she was trusted to co-host what was then the longest running weekly open mic in Baltimore City. 2 decades later, she is Baltimore's Legend Award recipient and named Baltimore's 2024 Renaissance Woman of the Year, among other awards in the DC and beyond. Dr. Dupas is an accomplished multidisciplinary artist known for her vulnerability and relatability. Her impactful career and writing ability has earned her recognition on platforms like C-SPAN, PBS, WEAA, Sirius XM, The Washington Post, and the Afro Baltimore Arts Escape and the DC Black Film Festival. She is a Louisiana native based now in the DMV. Dupas has over 20 years of experience writing commission works, live performances, and curation, hosting, and leading poetry and professional development workshops. Beyond curating open mic experiences throughout DC, she is the visionary behind the innovative artist development projects such as the Artist Side Society, which is an online writers circle, which I am currently a part of. Have to say, I have been getting my write on, y'all. Wrote about 10 new pieces. And the Body of Work, a solo artist showcase event, and the Baltimore Host Retreat. It's a community-based training event for event hosts in the DMV. Rebecca has published 7 books, including Somebody Else's Blues, which is a novel, the Relationship Reflection Journal, and an open mic poetry experience. She also, Not Without Black Women, and the children's book, Mario Goes to the Museum, which explores themes central to the Black experience. Beyond her creative pursuits, Dr. Dupas serves as the program manager and the director of education with experience in community outreach and work rooted in social justice and human rights issues. I want to bring to the stage, without further ado, Dr. Rebecca Dupas. I want y'all to clap up wherever you are. And how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you doing? Can you hear me?
Hey, lady, I cannot hear you again. I see you speaking though.
Uh-oh. Do you got to log off and
Can
come
you hear
back?
me?
I can. Yes. I can hear you. I don't know what happened to her sound.
Do you want me to do what I did last time?
Yes, do what you did last time. All right, y'all give her 2 seconds. She'll be right back. We had that happen earlier, and I'm not sure what threw her sound off, but she'll be right back. All right, y'all. So y'all already know. If you don't know, you can go ahead and start following her on all social media platforms as she comes back to the stage. Up, she's back. Let's see. What
Yes.
about now?
I hear you. Yeah, the devil is a liar. I can hear you.
All right, and we back at it, everybody. The beautiful Dr. Rebecca Dupas is here and on the virtual couch with me. How you doing, sis?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I am super excited to have you. Um, this is the season finale of season 8. We've been talking about the power of the pivot, and that's one of my favorite pieces by you. And I think it speaks so much to so much of Black women's experiences about identity and finding your way, and people trying to tell you who you are, or at least challenging where you're at and making you get the self-doubt. And I told you that poem was like therapy. When I heard it, I was just like, she's speaking to me. And then when I shared it with the sisters here at the radio station, we all were just like, yes, that poem just like spoke to us in so many different ways of the imposter syndrome, the negative self-talk, the societal scripts about being married and having kids and where you're supposed to be at certain stages of your life.
Yeah.
That poem, I think the last time I went and looked, is over 1 million views. So congratulations to you. The other thing that I learned, I'm just telling all her business, y'all. That poem was a poem that you wrote, and it was a prompt in your Writers Society, which I'm now part of.
Yay.
And you had no idea that it was going to even take off like that. And the prompts are dope, y'all, but they are prompts that if you're a writer, you're like, oh, what am I going to write to this? Because you never know what the prompt is going to be.
Yeah.
So you inspired me to challenge myself to just write and not worry about it. So thank you for that. But that piece, like you said, you never knew it was going to do what it did. And it again, thank you for trusting your own pen and just, going with the flow.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cloud too, because you said that was a new thing that you tried, writing in first and third person and sort of having that dialogue with your inner voice, which was super cool.
Yeah. I'm grateful that poem hit 25 million views.
Okay. I think I was only on Instagram when I saw that. Yeah.
Mine. And you're right. It started off as a prompt. It was kind of early in April. And because you've participated in the writing group, I don't choose prompts that are easy.
No.
I choose prompts that challenge me as well. So I was already at a point where I'm like, what I'm going to do with this prompt? The prompt was the first dragon I slayed. And I definitely did shout out Cloud. I had seen him days before. He surprised me at one of my features in Jersey. And he does dialogue in his poetry all the time. So
phenomenal. Yeah.
Let me talk. And what I'm most grateful about in that poem is that, and I'd done dialogue before, but never for the duration. You know what I mean? Never not that long. I never felt comfortable enough. So I give him credit for pushing me in that way. But what I love most about that poem is that if it were left up to me, the poem would have ended differently. It would have been two women. It would have been a woman just being negative to another woman, sort of in the vein of what I was trying to highlight about friendship when I wrote the poem Breaking Up with Women. But as I was writing, God was like, nah, it's going to be you. I was like, what? Like in my mind, that doesn't even make sense.
Right.
But for me, it's the discipline of exercising my pen. I've been doing these prompts twice a year for 10 years now. And in the 10th year, I was blessed with a poem that brought so much visibility to me that I can't help but to know that was God's doing. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's been a thing, and it's been a marker of healing for me. I told myself many years ago that I had let go of people's expectation over my life, and I thought that I believed that, but I realized it was something I was telling myself. It was this mantra I was working into, who I am and how I show up. But this year for me marked my healing to the point where I can get up on a stage and say all of those things, which have been insinuated or explicitly said to me in one way or another by people close to me or people I don't know, and not have a single feeling about it. The fact that I can say it and without hesitancy when there are other poems that I have hesitancy about, it lets me know that I'm ready, that I do believe I'm finally standing on that. You know what I mean? I really did slay the dragon in order to write a poem like that. So
Yeah, you're
special.
speaking to so many of us. So I'm glad that you're getting healing, but it also was like, dang, she in my head, And I just love your style of poetry. It just seems so effortless, like just like you're having a conversation, but it's so poetic at the same time. So I read your bio. You have tons of accolades. Those of us that are fans, we already know about you, but I know there's some people that I brought you up and they had no idea who I was talking about. And I'm sure they're tuning in tonight because I've been just blowing you up. I'm just so excited
Hey,
about this interview. So shout out to everybody on Instagram that's checking in and everybody on Facebook and YouTube. I see y'all. I'll give y'all some shout outs in just a second. But what is something that you want your new fans, your old fans, soon to be fans to know about you that they can't go find online? Who is Rebecca Dupas besides the accolades and education? What's something that we would be surprised to know about you?
I think that I'm figuring it out, and in a strange way, I just trust myself in that process. So I think that writing the way I do, there's this expectation for confidence, which I do have, but I also have my moments, and there's also this this weird misconception of perfection. Not only that I wish to present myself that way, but then some people actually have made statements about me seeming, they've used flawless or just like I have it all together or whatever the case is, and I do not. So perception is reality. So I get that, but I think I want people to know that I'm figuring it out and I'm enjoying the process of figuring it out, and sometimes that can be a little bit bumpy, but I've never, shied away from that. I am authentic, in all of my Aries energy. I'm a kind person, but I'm not always what people will call nice. You know what I mean? So I'm the introvert in the corner, people watching. I'm not the social butterfly, and I think people get that confused when they know me only through my poetry. So that when I show up and I'm quiet and I don't have much to say, I think that sometimes there's this misconception that I'm mean, and I'm really not. I am poet and educator, I think more than anything else, And so it's hard for me to tell people who I am outside of poet. I've known poetry since I was about 5 or 6. My mama introduced me to it. I've been writing it since middle school. It's how I figure out the world. And I think it's why my poetry is so conversational, because it's so much a part of me that I just be talking to people.
And that's definitely what like for a minute, until if you don't really get it, it's like you are having but it's poetic. It's a poetic conversation. And you mentioned recently, which we're going to talk about later, your one woman show is like an intimate conversation. We just going to sit, we're going to do some poetry, we're going to talk, we're going to reflect. And that's exactly what it feels like when I went to your open mic in your feature at Free Verse. It was like that. I mean, you shared some stuff with us. You was like, I don't know if I want y'all to record that, and then you posted it. And I was like, okay, she posted it. Because you got real with us that night and shared some things behind your poetry. And the most recent one you did, which was a prompt that you gave me that I still haven't written to, which is the one about family. And I think you're gonna call it Blood blood. What you say you
I'm
was
gonna
on
call
call?
it blood business. The
Blood
prompt was
business.
blood, friends, water, relatives.
Yes. And I was just like, I still haven't written to that. It kind of scared me a bit. I ain't gonna lie. I so when I seen where you went with it, I said, okay, okay.
Yeah, I was when that one came in my mind. That wasn't one. Sometimes, I start planning months ahead. That's one that came to me during the month. And so when I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make the next prompt blood, friends, water, relatives," and I was like, I don't even want to write to that because I feel like there was another poem I could have written to that.
Hmm.
And as a poet, um, and I just saw this amazing poet by the name of Stephen Willis. He posted a poem. I didn't get a chance to hear it yet. I was, prepping for this. So I'm gonna listen to it later. But the caption said, "I want to be this honest in all of my poetry." And I feel like that's a journey for poets as well. But it also has to be a decision that we make. I've written some very honest poems, and then there are poems I still haven't written. And a prompt like that, I had to make a decision. I'm gonna write something where I'm gonna talk about what's real, knowing I could go deeper, but I'm gonna just keep it kind of cute because I don't want no real problems. Not today. Not
I don't want no smoke. I don't want no smoke.
today. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did see that one. And I was just like, uh, I still haven't. But what I did do, I challenged myself that even though I didn't get all 31 poems, I
Uh-huh.
think I did 12, that I
Hmm.
still took all of the prompts with the goal of still writing anyway.
And that's beautiful. I love
Like,
that.
anyway, I saw each one, I still have the day and the prompt, even if I didn't do it,
Hmm.
to be able to circle back. So I don't know how much you know about the show, but I have my own open mic called Poe Therapy, and
Hmm.
I'm a psychotherapist. That's what I do by day, and then I do my show. And the show is inspired by my dad, who passed 7 years ago. Um, he passed away, and he always told me to bet on myself. And he loved when I did radio. It was one of his proud moments to be able to drive around in his bus with the elderly and say, "Y'all hear my daughter on the radio? Y'all hear she sound good." So he was like, "You should stick with that. You're actually pretty good at it." So when he passed away, I said, well, maybe I kept getting this urge that I needed to go back to radio, including Marv Neal, who's the owner of Urban Heat, on pushing me to do a show. So the two men got me to get back on the air. But
Hmm.
I always want to know how people are able to navigate the world, because most of us have a story. Not everybody has trauma, but we have things that have shaken us to our core, threw us off track, or things we may have shame or regret about. And curious about how we move through it. Not everybody engages with therapy, but a lot of people do. And some people don't know, because mental health is similar to a lot of conditions. You don't really see it, right? You don't really look at it that way. And we have put a stigma on it, but we're all managing our mental health.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious about, how maybe mental health, or therapy has spoke to you, how you've engaged in it. And in this segment, I always ask all my guests, what does therapy mean to you, to be able to open up a dialogue about it and just
Yeah.
expand it. Um,
Hmm.
because everybody thinks it's about sitting across from a therapist. And I think poetry is therapy. And you've mentioned that before, that wasn't your intent, but often that's what people feel like when they come to some of your one woman shows, is that they've come to a therapy session.
Yeah. Yeah. First, I want to say God bless your daddy's soul, and thank him for the encouragement that he gave you.
Yeah.
That you're doing something right now that you love, that you're passionate about, and that's blessing your life. But to answer your question, I am an advocate for therapy. I'm not presently with a therapist, though I look forward to doing so again. I understand the value that it has on my life and on people who talk to me about, their therapist and the relationship that they have with them. Of course, you got to find the right one for you. You know, I think we don't talk about that enough, and I think that it's one of the things that will either keep people frustrated or keep people away from therapy, is that you you got to court. You got to figure out where you belong,
It's like,
who
listen,
your
it's like
partner finna
dating.
be. Yeah, it really is. And some people don't even feel like doing that. So you know what I mean? It's like I understand the struggle, because it's not an easy journey, but um, I have appreciated at a very basic level being able to sit down across the table when I was in person, sorry, but also something was in my eye. But also in a virtual sense, just kind of logging on to the computer and being across the screen from someone who was listening to my stories and doing so in a non-judgmental way to the extent that they are human, you know, and then offering me strategies to cope with some of the experiences I was having. And I have homegirls that are wise women who love me dearly and who give me thoughtful advice. I have some who are extremely objective and also spiritual and who pray for me and who speak over my life, and all of that is necessary. But it's very separate from therapy. And so what I appreciated when I was connected with the right person was having that routine, having that the accountability of showing up every week, but also having tools. And then also getting to a place where, because sometimes you also outgrow your therapeutic environment, getting to a place where you can feel confident that you've learned what you need to learn to cope with a thing. Maybe not all things, but a thing, you
Yeah.
know, that feels extremely valuable to me. So, you know, I'm always talking about it in a sense of it being something that people should try, at minimum, try. But I also understand it's a privilege. It's not accessible to all in the way that it might be accessible to me, or you know what I mean, to some of your
Mhm.
clients. But
Yes.
I am a cheerleader for at least trying it if it's at all possible.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I think it is a part of a larger self-care conversation. A lot of people don't look at it like that, that you don't have to have a severe mental health condition to
Yeah.
benefit from therapy. It's just like going to physical therapy, right? It's your regular checkups. It should be part of the whole holistic form that you do. You go to your PCP once a year. I think you should have a therapist that you check in with, that you just are able to kind of talk through things. And it doesn't have to be weekly, it could be quarterly, it could be twice a year. But I think you should have that same way you have an attorney, you have your whole team. You need to
Mhm.
have your spiritual person, your therapist. You need to have your whole team that
Yeah.
puts keeps you together, right?
Mhm.
Keeps you balanced. Now,
Mhm.
switching gears, I want to ask you a question about the body of work, because you've built an incredible body of work across multiple disciplines, right? Like, you're educated, you've done children's books, you've done a journal, you just done a collection of different works. You do spoken word, people commission you, right?
Mhm.
Which people don't know, there's a whole plethora of people that just come to you and you write specifically for what they're doing.
Mhm.
But when did you realize that, your art was creating legacy? Because tonight's conversation is all about what we leave behind and not
Mhm.
waiting till we die, getting our flowers when we're here, and really being intentional about what we're doing in real time that's creating legacy. So
Mhm.
for you, when did you realize, okay, yeah, I'm leaving a mark?
I think I realized it before it actually happened. As a classroom teacher, um, I remember there was a textbook, and I don't know if it was 11th grade or 12th grade English. I've always taught the older students, but anyway, in the beginning of their textbook, there's a quote that says, "Those who write will stay alive in the mouths of those who read." And that always kind of jumped out at me, and I remember using it always as a conversation prompt with my students. Like, what does that mean? Why is that important? How is that true? So I think that thought was in my head. As long as I'm writing, my words, my name, my ideas will never die. And this, I started teaching straight out of college. So we're talking 22, 24, 25-ish that I'm teaching my students this concept as a poet. And it's kind of sinking in that my writing will carry me. My writing will extend my reach, my being, my existence. Um, and so I was writing and sharing poetry. I've always built community around my poetry. And I think that that's also a part of legacy, because when people speak about what I've done, it is always through a different lens than when I think about what I've done. But when people flash back to the Baltimore host retreat where I was getting all the hosts together so we can talk about the skills that are effective for hosting and curating, I wasn't doing that to build legacy. I was doing it because I appreciate and I learn in community. But it impacted people in different artistic mediums. I don't know the right term. And it meant something to them, and they carry it, and they repeat it, and they pass it on, and they reflect. And so going back to that quote, it's not going to die because it lives in the mouths of others. People are speaking it. And so I think that some of the things I've done, the fact that they are fond memories for people, and not everybody has a fond memory, but most people do, and that satisfies my soul. But the fact that the memories exist. But I think when it comes to my body of work, an example would be somebody else's blues. I have to give credit to B. Sharice Moore, an amazing poet, former slam poet, author, educator out of the DMV. When I was talking to her about writing my novel, she told me to build a universe. And that was the first time I'd heard that concept. And that was maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Maybe a little bit longer. I'm not sure. But that concept changed my thinking, because I had poems, I had a novel. Now I'm like, oh, I'm going to write a poetry book that's a companion to the novel. Oh, I started scripting this relationship reflection journal. Let me make it more concrete and connected to the novel. And then once I had those books and I was in my same energy of I did something, okay, now let's do something else. That thought reminded me, no, sit in your work. And then I created the show. And so it's more so recent encouragement from a peer, to actually build a universe and to create longevity and create connection and build this whole narrative and universe that will also kind of get people talking and get these ideas cemented in their spirit somehow, so that, like that quote, it never dies. That's a great question. I don't know that I had thought about how the quote impacted me, but I think I just kind of carry it, and it's kind of this silent, or not a silent, but like a whisper,
Yeah.
reminding me to keep going and to respect my work. Like even now, I'm trying to convince myself to go live a couple of times between now and the end of the year, and just read sections of my novel. I spent many years writing that thing. and some people don't even know that I have it still, even with the show. So I'm sitting around sometimes thinking, well, what else can I do to honor my work? And I think I'm gonna get the guts up to do that soon.
Yeah, well, you do you go live and you share from the Harvest Society, the pieces, right? And
Yes.
you mentioned workshopping them. So often I take it that you don't feel like they're done and that they need more, more meat. But I wonder if that's like an Erykah Badu moment, where I'm sensitive about my ish, and it'll never really quite be done, because artists always feel like, and when I go back and read my own work, I always add something to it. So sometimes I feel like I need to leave it alone because I keep changing or adding or doing something to it, and it was probably already done. At least that's what some people have said. So I'm curious, how do you balance your artistic expression with social responsibility. And I know earlier you sort of spoke to how transparent, like you want to be honest, but honesty versus transparency is two different things, right? So I want to be honest, but how transparent, how much do you really want to sort of open up and tell the public and the world about your inner thoughts? Because poetry is so intimate. And once you put it out there, it's out there.
Yeah.
So balance just letting yourself be free versus social responsibility.
Yeah. I think, as poets, we have different boundaries that are neither good or bad. You know what I mean? It's just like where we are. Um, I am a poet. I have two jobs outside of performing poetry. And so I am consistently thinking about the messages that I share, especially working with children. I'm not concerned about um, my director at one position or the executive director at a different position calling me into an office. That doesn't concern me more than when I was in the classroom and my students had access to my work, or my family having access to my work, or um, my future, I don't know, family having access to my work. I think those things concern me more than what a colleague is going to think, if that makes any sense. But I'm still cognizant of those things. However, I've said, I've expressed my feelings on whatever topic I've wanted to write about. I think an example with the family piece, I'm always going to be concerned about hurting someone's feelings or ruining a relationship. I don't define my authenticity on whether or not I'm going to say all the things. I think as a mature, responsible adult, we don't say all the things at any point. You know what I mean? Like if I'm talking to my mom, I'm going to make sure I let her know my thoughts or maybe how I feel about something. I'm not going to say it any old way. Same thing with my dad, same thing with my homegirl, same thing with a colleague, same thing with a peer. So I don't think that censoring or choosing your words carefully means that you've cowered from a topic. And so for me, I say all that to say, I choose vulnerability. And I think that my confidence in saying that I'm authentic in my writing is that I don't fear being vulnerable. I don't fear writing about the thing that's heavy on my heart or heavy on my mind, but I will be thoughtful about what it is that I say. And I don't need anybody's pat on my back for saying the most or doing the most. So I think that's how I kind of balance my social responsibilities, the expectations, the climate that we live in, with the fact that I am a writer and I will address it. Like I'm working on something now inspired by this madness and this current administration. When it's ready, when it makes sense, when I'm proud of it, it's not finished yet. I'll share it, but I don't have to say F the police to let the world know that I think that the police need to get themselves together, if that makes any sense. I'm a find a way to say it because I'm an artist. You'll
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So it speaks a lot to just your style, and that's just your approach. I think in general that you keep it cute. That's just who you are.
I appreciate you saying I keep it cute because I feel like I be upsetting a lot of people.
Well, here's what I've learned is that no matter if you're keeping it cute or not, even when you don't mean to offend and your intention is to be intentional, you still could have people who don't feel that way because we can't please everybody. We'll be chasing that all along every single time if we try to do that. There will always be somebody that has something to say. So we spoke a little bit offline about uh, your body of work, somebody else's blues, and that is an exploration of diverse emotions, right? And I would say it's about the ups and downs and lifing, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so when you're taking in, other people's stories, how do you still protect your peace? Because it's been a lot of talk recently about capacity, right? And this idea of protecting your peace is often avoidance of difficult conversations.
Mm. Yeah. Um, I'm gonna see if I'm gonna say what's on my mind, and I'm hope it makes sense. But Maimuna Youssef, Mumu Fresh, amazing artist, singer,
Love
rapper,
her. Love her.
sound healer. Yes. She has a lyric that says, share your peace with those who need some, but don't be attached to the outcome.
Mm,
Feel like in many ways that has taught me how to separate myself from the result of anything that I do with the intentions of it being a good deed. And I think that that's the same for opening up space for conversation in a show like, somebody else's blues. It's like I'm going to share space. I'm going to be open, but I know not to become so attached to the result of that it ends up being a hindrance to me. And it doesn't mean that I'm not empathetic. It doesn't mean that I don't care. It means that I've learned how to listen and respond without adopting an emotion or a feeling. And I think that I've had to learn that with some of the personal relationships um, that I've had, people I've encountered in life where energy transference is real.
yes, it is.
I've
It's so true.
observed it, and I've also had to fight my way through those dynamics where if someone feels bad, their goal may not necessarily be to fix their issue. It may just be to get the feeling off of them. And when I sense that happening, I'm having an internal conversation with myself, you know. Um, and I haven't necessarily felt that in somebody else's blues, but I think I've developed the skill that if it were to happen, I can be a good listener, I can respond without walking away feeling extremely heavy. And I think we also learn that as educators. I'm sure you have to know it as a therapist. When
Mhm.
you encounter stories that are heartbreaking and you still got to get through the day, you still got to be strong for that person, you still got to go home and function in your next capacity. I think life has kind of prepared me um, for this pathway that I've taken with a show like Somebody Else's Blues. I want to share something real quick. When I was performing, I forget what city I was in, but just a few months ago, someone asked me if poetry was my armor, if it was some like something I used to protect myself, and it tickled me so bad because um, poetry is such a vulnerable space for me. It's like I get up, I get on the stage. Yes, you can't interrupt me when I got a mic, but then it's fair game when I get up off the stage. You know what I mean? When I'm sitting down, when I'm walking, whatever. Um, and I feel like even navigating the world as a poet. So I got something to say. I'm a Black woman. There's already stereotypes about that, but I have something to say, and you're not always gonna like what I have to say because I tend to address foolishness. One of my therapists gave me that about myself. He says, you got a lot of patience for a lot of things, but you can't do foolishness. I was like, you know what? You ain't lying. No lies told. So
Right.
I feel like in my poetry, I'm addressing foolishness, which might feel like a sting to some people. But in order for me to navigate the world and to do that and to get off stage and to be prepared for the people who will and do want to come and talk to me and defend or a behavior, or try to get they lick back because my poetry made them feel a certain kind of way. Yeah, all of that is preparation. I feel like God knows what he be doing. And I just feel ready to take on what comes with open dialogue. I think life kind of prepared me.
Yeah. You know, when we are putting ourselves out there, one of the things with this whole bet on self framework that I created, inspired by my father, you're putting yourself out there, right? And it also is a certain level of confidence and belief in yourself that you have to have. But that confidence can be both a mirror and a light, right? So you come in, you're shining bright, but you're also a reflection, and that is a powerful place, but also a very intimidating place sometimes in the world, right? Because yes, people will love it all, but then at the same time, like you said, you open yourself up to criticism by just opening your mouth. There's somebody that's going to be like, yeah, well, I don't agree with what you said, or I follow another lady. Her name is Raquel, the capacity coach, and she is often challenging the world's norms and scripts and narratives. So there's tons of comments about people agreeing, but there's also a lot of people who are like, "Listen, what are you saying? You know, that's not right." So she has to deal with both pieces. So I've often wanted to go viral, and my sister said one day, "Are you sure you're ready for that?" Because it's not just all positive. Viral brings everything and everybody, and it's a whole nother space. Which that wasn't one of my questions that I was going to ask you, but you've gone viral, right? At this point, you post something, everybody's on there. You like the poetic Beyonce. How
Girl.
are you? How are you? How are you grappling with just how quickly now you are expanding in your influence? Because I watch how quickly I'm like, oh, she didn't became the poetic Beyonce at this point, and we in the comments also defending you. You got a whole tribe.
um well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. um and I'm thankful for the few videos who have reached over 1 million, and the ones that are the little engine that could. I'm grateful. I just want to take a moment to say how grateful I am, because I prayed. I did pray that more people would know that I was a poet. That was my prayer. I've been doing it for so long, Lord. I want people to actually hear my work. So I'm happy when it's 10K, 100K, 1 million, and if it never happens again, this moment has been an absolute blessing. But the reality is, once a poem goes viral, you get a little bit of everything. And there are so many people who are looking to be contrarians. They just want to be able to push back or be negative or be judgmental. um, they get something out of that. And so it's not much that we could do to stop that kind of energy. So the first time that I went viral, it was for a poem. Um, I'm good, bro. I went viral on TikTok though. And then based on the way that's set up, I wasn't paying attention to the comments. But years later, when it went viral again on Instagram, after a feature at a dope venue called Voices in Power, boy, and them notifications was coming in. I said, oh, well, maybe I don't want this. Like, I had those moments of maybe I don't want to be viral because this is ridiculous. And so the brothers who didn't appreciate me saying I didn't want to be pursued by someone who really didn't want a relationship, which is the just of the poem, they got so upset. So then, instead, not just telling me they didn't like the piece, they started talking about me as a person. And that blew my mind, because that kind of immaturity doesn't hit me in the open mic venue. And then it opened my eyes to what's happening inside of different people in an audience when I'm speaking. I don't know that I wanted that insight, but I have it now.
Mhm.
And I think that it absolutely makes me a little bit more thoughtful, but not that I won't say what I need to say, just like, how are we going to express this? How do I express this thought? At keeping in mind the fact that people can be sensitive at times, or even the most thoughtful line can still send somebody into a little frenzy. But yeah, for a moment I thought I didn't want to be viral because they were absolutely nasty.
Yeah.
Um, but
Did you
after a
hear
while,
this piece? There was this piece that 3 women did, and they used the B word in it, and it went viral, and people had a lot to say about
I
them
saw that.
flipping the word, and they flipped it all these different ways, and a lot of people were very upset with them about the piece. But I got it. I understood
Yeah,
what they were trying to do, but they got a lot of heat, and a lot of heat from Black women about utilizing the female dog word, y'all, in case y'all don't know, for those, because we on iHeartRadio ain't supposed to use certain language on here, but they got really people got really upset about that. So yeah.
I think one thing we have to also remember, and I hope this doesn't come off in a condescending way, is that not everyone is ready for poetry. Like not everyone has the capacity to listen to art and then appreciate it for what it is. People are sometimes reacting to poems the way that we react to a regular conversation, like without the imagination, without the analysis, without the respect for how the skill is used to be a vehicle for a message. And I think that's what happens a lot when poets go viral. You have folks who don't know how to sit and listen to different people's opinions. They don't go to church, they don't go to the open mic, they could barely sit still in the class while a teacher was lecturing. Those people are never going to connect with spoken word, even if it's comedy. They're never going to be able to respect the art form while they're processing the art. And you're going to get that kind of reaction. It's like if you and I listen to this B poem, we like, maybe we don't like the word, but we like, oh, I see what they did there. Sometimes with
Exactly.
art, you just need to see what they did. Yes.
Right. I thought it was
I
super
didn't,
creative.
I didn't
Super
write this
creative.
for you to like it. Yeah,
Yeah, and
I barely sit down and say, oh, I just can't wait for them to love this. That does not pop into my mind.
I know that's right. So one of the things we talk about, Rebecca, is bet on self moments. Can't believe we're like almost done with the show. So I could talk to you all day.
Keep talking.
Yes, I can talk all day. But we talk about bet on self moments, and simply put, those are those moments in our life where we decide, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? And despite what we might have been taught from our family, society, about who we are, we get in the driver's seat and we decide that we're going to write our narrative and become the author of our stories.
Mm-hmm.
Past, present, future. What's a better on self moment that you have that you want to share with us, to help us get a better understanding about who you are? I kind of got an idea of what that might be, but I'm curious if I might be right.
That's a good question. Not even as a delay. I just want to say you better do it with these graphics, okay? I'm loving the graphics.
Thank
Um,
you. I
Patron
can't
self
take full credit for it though. I had somebody make them for me. Shout out to the
it's
Sparring Minds podcast. They helped me out.
it's on point. It's on point.
Thank you.
Um, oh, I think I'm gonna start broad and then try to reel it in. I think my biggest bet on self moment was performing after my dissertation. I felt so disconnected as a performer and so green, so naive, so um unskilled. Like I don't know. When I came back after not writing for so many years because I was focused academically, I was going out because people were inviting me, but I was seldom pleased with myself after a performance. And I drilled the same 4 to 5 poems into the ground, not because they were asked for, like in the way that a feature, like right now, I kind of know what to do. I might throw in one different one, but I know what to do. Then I had no options. It was the same 4 over and over again. And I just didn't feel good as an artist, and I was stumbling more. I was, forgetting my words. I was barely making eye contact with people, but I wasn't fitting to quit. I wasn't going to allow that feeling to overwhelm me. And I'm glad I stuck with it. And it took me years to get back where I needed to be. But I know a lot of poets who've retired from poetry or have stopped, sometimes with good reason. But I sometimes wonder too if it was imposter syndrome, if it was the lack of reception in the way that I was feeling it that could drive people away. I just didn't want that to be my story. I think I bet on self with writing in the Harvest Society twice a year. Ain't nobody paying me to do that. Sometimes I don't feel like doing it. I do it anyway. I feel like that's one that when I lay down to go to sleep tonight, I'm gonna be like, I should have said this. Something will come to mind. But those are like the easy answers that come up right now, Coach La. I don't know.
Well, I got an idea. I know in like 4 minutes, I gotta make some money for the station and play some commercials. But we do have until 11:30 because I know you were gonna do a piece for us if you still will. But I want to be respectful of your time. And I mean, I'm good at wrapping it up. I can wrap it up in 4 minutes, or if you can give me like 10 more minutes, I let that legal disclaimer go and we could make sure you still have a piece, because what I thought you were going to say.
Know it now. I bet on myself by taking my one-woman show to Boston on December.
Thank you.
This is my first time traveling with my one-woman show. I'm betting on myself by having a show in the city I do not live in, have only been to once. And I want to thank you all for buying these tickets. Early bird tickets are sold out. Y'all making me feel loved and whole and affirmed. So thank you.
I'm about to say, if she don't, I'm gotta give her a clue, because I was about to say it for you.
My bad.
It's cool. That was your shameless plug, but I was about to blow you up anyway. But yeah, we got about 3 minutes left. I want to give some shout out to LaDonna. Mina Shea Style Journey is on here. We got people saying that you remember LaDonna from Free Verse. She said, happy to see you again. Can't wait to see you again this month. Moonlight's one of my radio sisters. Thank you for tuning in, Moonlight. Yeah, so we got a whole, Divas group chat here at the radio station. So we dropped your poem in there. And then I still want to take credit for manifesting you to Boston. I know Amanda brought you, but I manifested you here. I was like, I don't know. I went on your page and I was filling out the form and I was like, I'm gonna bring it to Boston, but Amanda beat me to it. And so I said, she's already coming. Y'all never believe this. So, and now you're on my show. So I definitely have to use this. I wish I could manifest $1 million the way I manifested you here. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna keep on thinking about it, and maybe it'll happen. So where we go now is we talk about Coach's Corner, which is also one of my favorite segments, because it's just the way of us wrapping up the show.
Okay.
And like I said, I might need just 2 more minutes, because I know in a minute they're going to play this commercial and I'm gonna have to let it run.
Yeah, it's fine.
But what we want the audience to sort of take away from our conversation as we think about legacy, I think it's somewhat easier for people who journal, who write, do spoken word, or even me doing my show. We are real time leaving a mark. Like if something happens to us tomorrow, we already have left things for people to go back and hear our voice and look at how we thought and how we felt. And, so I think we're doing that real time. But for the layman, individual who's just trying to life is life, and then they're just trying to figure it out. What nuggets, what advice when you're still trying to figure out who you are and trying to figure out how to create legacy? Is there anything somebody could do now that could help them with that?
Oh,
Hold on.
The Urban Heat. Expect the unexpected. Unorthodox radio from Boston and beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeartStation.
I knew it was coming, y'all. Yes. You had a minute to think about it. Yeah. So what do you think?
You know, when I was thinking about legacy, I was thinking about the folks who like don't know yet what they want to do with their lives, with their professions, and it's not always easy. Sometimes you got to go through some things for the answer to become clear. And then for me, with the poetry thing, it was no way I wasn't fitting to be a poet. Like, it was so obvious. My mama, my sister, it was all up in my face. My journal started rhyming. Okay, poet, here we go. My mentor was like, oh, we going to a poetry spot. I was like, okay. It was so clear that I'm an educator and I'm a poet. I knew that. But I think that for people who are trying to figure it out, their purpose, because purpose and legacy are tied, keep your ears open. I feel like doing less talking and more listening is important, because I feel like when we're not sure, we kind of just talk. We trying to figure it out. We saying what we ain't fitting to do. We're saying all these other things, and we don't leave enough space for the download to happen. And sometimes it comes in songs. Sometimes it comes in conversation. Messages begin to repeat. It might be a direct download from, the God that you serve. It could be the teachers, your supervisor saying, you know what you would be good at, you know what I see you doing. I feel like there has to be this level of listening, because if it's not internal, if it's not obvious to us, then I think it does sometimes have to be, I guess, influenced or pointed out, and no man is an island. So I would say listen, and I would also say try without fear of judgment, because sometimes going down this path thinking that you want to be an engineer, but then you meet a real estate agent and you like, oh, that's what it is. But had you not gone down the path, you might not have met that person or saw that person doing the things. So a lot of us are so afraid to look silly in front of people. I have those moments as well, where we don't try a thing. But I think not being afraid to get it wrong is also important for getting it right.
That's such good advice. And so true. Do you still want to drop a poem?
I can share. Yeah, I can still
Oh,
share.
she said that I can share. I'm sure everybody who's listening would love to hear a poem. So if y'all want a poem, put it in chat. Yes, we want to hear a poem. All right. Without further ado, let's hear a piece from Dr. Rebecca Dupas. You guys go get them tickets, but the mic is hot.
Thank you. So I'm actually going to read a poem called Blues Music. This was the first poem that I wrote for my novel, Somebody Else's Blues. And depending on the show, it also is one of the poems that I share to introduce a character in the book by the name of Brandon. His name is Brandon Blue. So I was playing around with the name blues, and what that means to us. So this poem is called Blues Music. I've never been a fan of blues music. Never been able to ride the scat and skip of its baritone. I was always troubled by the way that the track moaned, those dark lyrics and heavy groans. I have never been eager to sing the blues. I grew up on Jill Scott and Music Soul Child tunes. I always needed something to tap my feet to with my head and my heart held high. Always needed my love to be neo soul fly, a catchy melody, a verse I could memorize, scream from the sunroof, catch a quick groove with a passerby. So imagine how my soul cried, how it tucked itself beneath E minor deep in the belly of the beast. Imagine how my soul dragged its feet when he showed up, all troubled with no backstory. He was all pain and no glory. In a back suit, dark shades, and a fedora dressed to kill. His voice would fill the cracks in some backwoods cabin where like souls ventured hell bent on mumbling the midnight scriptures. They called it devil's music. Written after hearts break and the body that housed him no longer serves as a safe place. He was settled on love's problems, knew how to write the saddest of love's albums, and they used to come flocking. Two shots down, and the waitress knew to keep a third and a fourth one coming. He was all sadness and melancholy. The only hope he knew was singing until his face turned blue. Love always left, always manipulated, always lied, always loved him good, and always said goodbye. So even when I tried, I couldn't ride my wave, or he couldn't ride my wave. I was his Bessie Smith, and I tried to sing like Ella May. He met my hope with more pain. My up-tempo felt too good for the darkness he craved. Even when I supplied the most beautiful groove, he stayed in a mood. You cannot give the sun to a lover of the moon. I've never loved the blues. Never been able to ride. Oh, the poem. Girl, the poem then skipped.
Yeah, you
And
have a cliffhanger. That means y'all need to buy a ticket and hear the rest. That's what that means. I love when that happens. That's the universe saying, show up to the show.
Well, you know what? Come to the show to hear the rest.
You got to come to the show to hear the rest.
Scroll down.
Yes, to hear the rest. Let me tell you, December 19th, I will be there. LaDonna will be there. So you guys definitely want to make sure that you are there as well. Because you don't want to miss it. They're already clapping. They're like, okay, everybody's mouth is open. Like, what's going to happen to the blues? The man with the blues with the fedora hat that was looking like, I already envisioned it in my head. I was like, oh, he's fine. He's fine.
Yeah, I was so close to the end of that poem, but you know what? The Lord has spoken.
He has.
Yeah.
So something I want to leave everyone with. Y'all know I'm a poetry lover. I love writing in general. Everybody has the ability to write, to journal, and to use it as a space for your own self-reflection and healing. So I'm going to leave y'all with something as we think about Coach's Corner. Y'all know I always throw y'all a little bit of group therapy in here, is to list out 3 consistent actions that you can take that can support you, right? Support feelings that will empower you. Where's the alignment and where's the misalignment? Because often when we are feeling stuck or we're feeling that we cannot bet on ourselves, Rebecca spoke to it. It's a lot of times it's fear. We don't want to look silly. We don't want to make mistakes. Those early memories of embarrassment, right? I remember being put in the front of the class or having to read out loud in front of your classmates and being teased and different things. A lot of those things are still implanted in you. And that's why you don't want to necessarily make bold moves as an adult. And I know a lot of people like, oh, I don't want to talk about my childhood. But a lot of the things that formulate who you are as an adult can be traced back to early memories where you weren't encouraged to make mistakes, encouraged to be embarrassed. And I really think to create legacy, you have to be able to live out loud. You have to take those risks real time, daily. For that to be able to be your reality. So I'm hoping that this episode and all the episodes that I've done this season about the power of the pivot, that you won't allow moments where you don't feel like you got it together to make you stop. Rebecca spoke to that. You know, imagine if you had in those moments of poetry not going the way you wanted, had said, you know what, I'm just not good at this. You would have never got to How to Slay a Dragon.
Right.
You would have never got a chance to see you continue. Or once those people started saying all those negative things, you say, you know what, I'm gonna shut this page down and I'm gonna go hide because this just doesn't feel good. So moving through and being uncomfortable outside of your comfort zone is often needed to get to your purpose and to get to where you're supposed to be. Life is it's gonna be uncomfortable, but you guys can do it, and you can continue to bet on self. Just in those little moments where you don't even see it, you're betting on yourself when you get up every day and try again, even when you don't feel like it. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for spending
Thank you.
time with me. I know I'm gonna see you some more and stay connected to you, and I get to see you next month as well at the One Woman Show, which
You
I'm coming. Yeah, I'm coming with a few girlfriends so we can sit there and just soak it all in, you
Yeah,
know.
hey, that warms my spirit. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we definitely are making a girls' night of it. So, is there anything else you want the people to know as we close up and we say good night and we say goodbye?
I just know that I'm grateful. I'm gonna keep writing these poems and trying to be my best at this poet thing and at this human thing. And I appreciate y'all's support and kind words, encouragement along the way. And do the same for you. Try to be your best self. Give yourself grace when you haven't. You haven't been. Try again the next day. That's
Yeah.
all you do.
You already know what I'm gonna tell everybody is make sure you bet on self. It's gonna
Yeah.
be another fabulous week. It's November. Try to find some ways to prioritize yourself and your self-care. And I'll see you guys right back here, same time on the virtual couch. Again, shout out to everybody who's joined us this evening. I appreciate you. Yes, LaDonna, birthday shenanigans are underway because her birthday is actually in December. So that's one of many things we'll be doing to
Oh,
celebrate her
hey.
birthday. Yeah, thank you again. Thank you
You
to all the listeners. Make sure y'all tune in tomorrow to the Morning Cafe because they will be here with all of the Morning Cafe shenanigans. Make sure you share this live. And yeah, see y'all next week. Y'all have a beautiful evening and good night. Make sure you go follow Rebecca on Instagram, all platforms. It's Rebecca Dupas. Go to her website, www.RebeccaDupas.com. I appreciate y'all. Bet on
Thank
self this week. See you later. Good night.
Bye, y'all.